to what many are calling a failure. In today's video, I go over everything and talk about the future of Piggy Intercity and why it failed so horribly. But real quick, feel free to like this video and subscribe. It means the world to me. But either way, let's get right into this video because this is a massive story. So to give some full context and a full understanding, all of this starts many years ago when the first game, Piggy, came out. Now, if any of you guys were around when Piggy first came out, you'll remember how massively it took over Roblox, pulling hundreds of thousands of players every single update and garnering a massive fan base shortly after its release. The virality of the game was insane. There were people who literally built their entire careers off the game, and YouTubers like Crewcraft blew up so massively off of Piggy, it was crazy. And so for a long time, Piggy was consistently releasing updates. There were things like Book 2, which were massively viral, that were huge updates to the game that changed it forever, which over time resulted in Piggy having over 14 billion total visits over the past 6 years, and today it still even averages over 10 to 12,000 players every day. However, over the past few years, it has been much quieter and the game has sort of died out. It was the most popular around 2020, 2021, 2022, and slowly died out over time after that. Once the developers started updating it less, the game started to die. But the fans stayed around because the creator of the game, Minitoon, continuously hyped up a game called Piggy Intercity. It was first talked about 5 years ago, and over the past 5 years, it's been hyped up a lot. People were extremely excited because what it would be is a larger version of Piggy on a scale nobody had seen before. An open world game that connected the entire story to a wider universe and also gave a lot of options and a lot of different experiences they can do. Piggy Intercity felt like the biggest game in Roblox's history because of how hyped up it was, and the expectations were huge. Once the trailer for the game released, people could see how just insane the game would be, showing a massive environment, a massive open world with a ton of different features, saying you can go on exciting quests, encounter a variety of enemies, and all the things you can do inside of the game. There were systems for everything. It genuinely felt like one of the biggest games that Roblox had ever produced. And so hype had grown massively once it had first been announced and people got excited. People genuinely could not wait for the release of the game, but that's what had to happen. While most people thought that Piggy Intercity maybe would take a few months to a year after it was first announced to come out, it ended up taking over 5 years, and I guess you guys can imagine how much it takes to be a fan of a game that doesn't release its sequel for 5 years. You have to wait 5 years, only getting a few teasers a year, and you just have to wait and wait and wait. So Piggy fans had gotten older and older. Like, for example, someone who was 13 years old when Piggy Intercity was first announced and people got excited for it would be 18 by the time the game came out, which is genuinely crazy because not only was everyone just getting older and moving on to different games, but the longer that the game took to come out, the more expectations it had. The only example outside of Roblox I can give is GTA 6, because if you guys know about GTA 6, it's been worked on for like over a decade, and so the expectations are huge. So even if the game was insane, when it came out, there was likely people who would be disappointed. And I'm guessing that there were thousands of people who were waiting for Piggy Intercity that just got done waiting for the game to come out. And so when it finally released about a month ago, there was a massive amount of people that played it right off the bat. Its first day, it averaged over 70,000 people, but by its second and third days, it had already started to dwindle. And even at prime time during a weekend when I'm recording this, it has 2,300 players, which honestly, obviously is not bad, but for a game that's been hyped up for over 5 years and likely tens of thousands of dollars spent, that is really, really sad. Of course, having over 11 million visits is pretty great. It's nowhere near as popular as it should have been based on all the hype that the game had, but there's a few reasons why it failed that are a little bit deeper. You see, when you play the game, you're in it for a story. You're not playing a game that is like the normal original Piggy where there's a story hooked into a normal gameplay experience. Piggy Intercity is more like an open world game, but that's based off of a very specific storyline that you follow. You can pick a few options and choices during dialogues. However, there's just one main storyline that people are guided over. And this main storyline maybe lasts about 10 hours if you play through it, which is like, okay, 10 hours, yeah, but once you're done with that storyline, there's not a lot else that people want to do in the game. Sure, there may be a lot of other features, but most people who play this game play the main story and then leave. So already that damages the game. But the thing is, all of the delays and a game coming out that was just not as exciting as people expected it to be, instead just being an open world story game that has a pretty small story, just disappointed people a lot. Many people expected